did, though, 2021, we impaneled on illegal immigration. So we have a statewide grand jury impaneled now on illegal immigration. They can issue recommendations and issue reports, and they have issued some recommendations, and so we're going to be implementing some of those recommendations here today. But we need to do everything in our power to protect the people of Florida from what's going on at the border and the border crisis. And so we're announcing a number of, I think, really timely initiatives that we're going to be working with the legislature on to get this done in the upcoming legislative session. First, we're going to increase the penalties, and this is something that the grand jury recommended, increase the penalties for human smuggling. And so if you have people that are bringing into the state of Florida, people that are here illegally, it's going to be a third-degree felony if you're doing that, and a second-degree felony if there are aggravating circumstances. We also say that it's a separate offense for each individual transported, concealed, or harbored. And then when people are being transported, even though they may not have violated this, they're going to be detained as material witnesses. If you hold people accountable, they're not going to want to do this. But we need to update our laws to be able to get this done. We are also going to, so right now in Florida, you have to be legal to work, but businesses can either use E-Verify or they have the option of maintaining documents like I-9 or whatever. Well, that would require an audit to uncover some of the stuff. And so although we've been able to hold some accountable, it hasn't been effective enough. And so we're working with Blaise Angolia and the legislature to require all employers in Florida to use E-Verify to determine employment eligibility. And this will expand from our current requirements, which are just with public employees and with contractors with the state of Florida. But if you have the ability to have different types of enticements, you're going to end up having more people that are going to want to come illegally. If you remove the enticement of employment, then they're not going to want to come illegally to the state of Florida. So that's a huge, huge issue. Now, Florida correctly prohibits driver's licenses for illegal aliens, and we will continue to prohibit that. However, what local governments are doing is they're trying to circumvent that. They're trying to use nonprofits, use their funds, give money to nonprofits, and have nonprofit groups create ID cards for people here illegally. And that's just a way to try to evade the current state law. So our proposed legislation will prohibit that practice. Local governments will not be able to provide funds to issue ID cards to illegal aliens, and the legislation will invalidate all out-of-state licenses that have been given to illegal aliens. Florida's Constitution correctly requires you to be an American citizen, and that should be just an obvious thing. You see other places, San Francisco, New York City, now Washington, D.C., once illegal, or actually foreigners to vote, illegal aliens, or even like diplomats. Like, are you going to have some diplomat from the CCP voting in D.C. elections? I mean, it's insane what they're trying to do. So we don't allow that, and we've actually, with our election crime unit that I instituted with the legislators' help last year, you've actually seen illegal aliens prosecuted in Florida now for voting illegally, because some of them say, no one asked me. They just said I could vote, so I signed up and did it. So our bill will require, when you register to vote, that you affirm or swear under penalty of perjury that you are a United States citizen. And so if you check that box and you're not, then you're opening yourself up to prosecution. And we need to make sure that we want all citizens here that want to vote, but we don't want anybody here voting illegally. And if you're not a citizen of this country, you should not be voting in our elections. We're also going to require hospitals to collect data on how much it costs to provide health care to people in our state illegally. I mean, this is something that we estimate to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars range, but that's just the estimate based on very limited data. It may be much more, and that's one of the costs that we talk about people coming across the border illegally. Yes, some bring drugs, but most of them don't. Some are criminal aliens, but most of them are not. But even if you're not involved in any type of drugs, crime, going into communities you have millions now going across the country, that puts a stress on the education system, on public safety, and on health care. And I think you see that in every state, including the state of Florida. So we want those costs identified, and we want to be able to go to the people of Florida and let them know, and this is almost all uncompensated care that taxpayers are having to pick up, just what the costs of these border policies are. And then finally, one of the things that we're going to be doing is, I don't know why they did this in Florida before I became governor, but they're letting illegal aliens become licensed attorneys in Florida. It's like, how could you be violating the law and then be practicing the law? So we're going to end that practice to make sure that you're legal. And at the end of the day, what we're doing is, in the face of a failed federal administration, neglect at the border, honestly intentional of what's going on at the border because it fits their vision, we're fighting back on behalf of Floridians. And I think if other states mimic the proposals that have been put forth today in the proposed legislation that Blaise Angolia has, it's going to make a big, big difference. And it's really going to, I think, force the federal government to get with the program and to finally secure and defend the borders of the United States of America. So we are going to be very happy to see this progress made here in the state of Florida, and it'll make a really big difference. We have enough people that want to come from these blue states. We can't also take everybody from other countries illegally. I mean, it's hard enough. The state's getting very, very crowded. So, all right, we're going to hear from some of the folks with us here today. So first, we have the Commissioner of FDLE, Mark Glass.